Great Old Ones, the malignant gold-like Lovecraft's monstrosities explored. H.P. Lovecraft was an author who was renowned for his obscure take on the fantasy science fiction and horror genre. In the fictional world that he created, he also presented a very strange but menacing mythology, the Cthulhu mythos. This world was one full of cosmic horrors that man could not even dream of. Malevolent entities such as the Great Old Ones and the Outer Gods rested within the deep spaces of Earth and the universe, respectively, while man was completely oblivious to their existence. On the off chance that they did happen to see a Great Old One, they would always succumb to madness. A lot of the terminologies used for the Great Old Ones throughout Lovecraftian lore are inconsistent, making it hard to categorize them. But in today's video, we try our best to simplify everything we know about the Great Old Ones. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. What are Great Old Ones and where did they come from? The Great Old Ones are powerful antagonistic beings who used to be the rulers and gods on Earth. After the end of their reign, they relocated to various other locations such as deep within the oceans and such. To box these entities into a particular definition would be complicated because a lot of the information that we have about them are quite vague. On one hand, we know that they live on Earth. On the other hand, they are often referred to as extraterrestrial or cosmic entities. Their creator, H.P. Lovecraft, often used the term Great Old Ones to refer to his entities whose existence came before that of humanity. These entities are also known for their strange, if not horrifying designs. If all the monsters from Greek mythology, the creatures from Stranger Things, and marine life such as squid and octopi were clubbed together, then you would get something that resembled the Great Old Ones. The reference to Stranger Things is no accident because these Lovecraftian entities have actually influenced the conception of countless creatures and monsters throughout science fiction and fantasy. Let's say you are watching a movie with a menacing creature who is at the helm of all the ruckus in the story. And let's say the creature was not inspired by the Great Old Ones or Lovecraftian lore. There still remains a very good chance that the creature was inspired by other creatures who were inspired by the Great Old Ones. After all, it is quite common for monster designs to have tentacles, weird mouths, slimy bodies, and the likes. According to the lore of Lovecraft's Cthulhu mythos, the Great Old Ones have succumbed to a death-like sleep, but they are not dead. They have been present in almost all of Lovecraft's works since 1919's Dagon, the story that kicked off the Lovecraftian mythology. But it was in 1928's The Call of Cthulhu when the lore was expanded. A primary reason why Lovecraft used these entities as vague, malevolent creatures is to show how terribly the human mind can falter when confronted with the truth that exists beyond their reality. Think about it with reference to our reality. Some people believe in astrology, others don't. To some, the idea that stars and planets can affect another person's personality and life is ridiculous. Plus, the fact that astrology is a pseudoscience stands true. Meanwhile, many people, even entire cultures, swear by it, even though it does not have any scientific validity as of now. The argument that it is untrue because it is not scientifically proven can be a weak argument, however. It could be possible that present-day humans do not have the scientific knowledge or tools to prove something that is so deeply connected with the universe. It could also be a case of pointless research for something that mainly provides entertainment to the average person. The point here is not about who is right and who is wrong. The point is, it is not very easy for the average person to completely put their faith into a system that exists so vaguely. So, if we were able to prove its validity in the future, many people would have a hard time wrapping their heads around its now proven validity. That's how the Cthulhu mythos and the Great Old Ones work. And the stories, they exist in a world that has moved past the era where the Great Old Ones were worshipped. It is ridiculous for people to even imagine that they exist, but that does not change the truth that the Great Old Ones do exist in their world, and the human mind has a hard time correlating what they know of the world with what truly exists. That brings us to a burning question. How did these creatures come to be? Do they truly exist as something we do not know anything about, or are they just a part of Lovecraft's imagination? Lovecraft often mocked those who believed that he was recounting true stories when he wrote about his mythology. They were likely crafted by Lovecraft himself, but there is an emphasis on believing in the supernatural. Not so much in the form of gods with humanoid appearances as such, but in the form of believing in vague entities that have a certain amount of power in the universe. They can affect the events, but they may not necessarily be benefic or malefic. Many believe that Lovecraft derived his mythology from his dreams. Considering that the Cthulhu mythology is a full-fledged, fleshed-out lore, it is clearly not just a product of the subconscious. Anything else comes off as a strange conspiracy theory. What is the purpose of great old ones? This brings us to find out about their true purpose. They can destroy humanity if they want to, and that too on a whim. But they're not concerned with the extermination of humanity because to them we do not even matter. After all, we're just a speck in the universe. If you're dusting your room and cleaning it, would you be worried about the disorganized chair, the cobwebs, and the dust collecting on your things? You wouldn't be so concerned about that one speck of dust stuck in the corner of your room. That's probably how the great old ones feel about humanity. Even though they're often referred to as malevolent beings, Lovecraft called them immoral instead. The reason why they were so antagonistic was due to their role in the story and not because they were evil beings. They did not care about humans enough to harm them, but if they felt like doing so, they would not fret to take us down once and for all. For them, morality did not exist, which makes matters worse because if morality were to exist and the great old ones happen to be evil, one could bargain. The inability to do so makes them more dangerous. Fortunately, they're not real, or not that we know of. However, if they happen to be real, the results would be similar to how Lovecraft described them. Like the protagonists of his stories, those who would look at the great old ones would go crazy, commit suicide, or seek oblivion via drugs. In that case, the ones who would be able to confirm the truth would never do so, bringing us back to square one. If theories about their existence were to go around, they would have a similar reception as other spiritual studies. How powerful are the great old ones? Despite the menacing name that totally makes them sound like the most powerful beings in the universe, the great old ones are a lot less powerful than the extraterrestrial beings known as the outer gods, who are the evilest beings in the Cthulhu mythos. However, compared to humanity, the great old ones are invincible to the point that any human that looks at one is likely to go mad. The thing that stops them from doing so is the fact that they are now constrained. They do not have the freedom to act anymore, so despite their incomprehensible levels of power, it is not infinite. What's interesting here is that humanity is to the great old ones what the great old ones are to the outer gods. This suggests that one day humanity could stand on the same level while lesser beings become the dominant population. Most prominent great old ones explored. Certain great old ones have enjoyed great prominence with Lovecraftian sci-fi lore, the most notable of them all being Cthulhu. This immortal god-like being is easily the most popular monster created by H.P. Lovecraft. It was presented as a monstrous being from the ocean in Lovecraft's The Call of Cthulhu. As Cthulhu rose from the ocean, a boat crashed into it, causing it to reform. The 1931 novella known as The Whisperer of Darkness categorizes Cthulhu as one of the Great Old Ones. It was also revealed in At the Mountains of Madness that the Great Old Ones of Cthulhu were waging war against one another. After Cthulhu had landed on Earth, it created the city known as Urlier, and then went on into hibernation in the depths of the ocean. This brought the story to a full circle, taking us back to the Call of Cthulhu, where the creature rose from the ocean. Humans later went on to create a cult for the being. The purpose of the cult was to reawake the Great Old One to bring the Age of Darkness, an era where humans would go crazy and destroy one another. Since Cthulhu could communicate telepathically, it was able to create this cult while being in deep slumber. Next up, we have Cthulhu, a being who made its first appearance in the 1944 short story The House on Kerwin Street. It also appeared in August Derleth's The Dweller in Darkness after being summoned by the protagonist. Cthulhu looked very different from Cthulhu, resembling a ball of fire instead of being a terrifying marine entity. Derleth's version of the Cthulhu mythos categorized Cthulhu as one of the Great Old Ones. It was also one of the fire spirits who opposed the Elder Gods. However, he was chained by these very Elder Gods around an eternity ago and cannot act on his own unless summoned. Finally, we have Hastur, who made his first appearance in Ambrose Bierce's Haisha the Shepherd. Haita the Shepherd. He is Cthulhu's half-brother, the god of the shepherds, a fallen angel, and the Duke of Hell, making some of his traits similar to that of Lucifer. He has also been connected to Norse mythology as he had plotted to destroy Midgard and with it all the humans. Unlike Cthulhu and Cthulhu, Hastur is someone whose true form cannot be revealed. He's been imagined as a shapeless blob with tentacles, making him akin to several creatures or beings from the Cthulhu mythos. Another assumption presents him as a humanoid being hiding beneath a golden cloak while tentacles ooze out of him. In August Derleth's The Dweller in Darkness, Hastur was revealed to have been imprisoned upon a black star by the Elder Gods, benevolent godlike beings on Earth with humanoid appearances, after the defeat of the Great Old Ones. Great Old Ones and their inspiration in other media. We have spoken about the Great Old Ones having a mammoth-like influence upon malevolent creatures and cosmic beings who have appeared in various different forms of media. Some of the most notable ones are the old gods from World of Warcraft, the ancient ones who appear in the Chris Hemsworth star comedy horror The Cabin in the Woods and the Leviathan from the television series Supernatural. Other notable additions to this list are the Nestine Consciousness from Doctor Who, Suma Verimanoth from Solo, A Star Wars Story, Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls, and the Octolus from Deep Rising. Over time, there have been several overlaps between the Great Old Ones and the Outer Gods. Hastur is one such entity who, like the Outer Gods, is based in outer space instead of Earth. However, he still is a Great Old One, but then much about these entities is not supposed to be concrete or make any logical sense. That is the charm and beauty of it all. People have a fear of the unknown, and as such, the blurry and inconsistent information that we do get about the Great Old Ones helps these entities stay true to their nature. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.